Good morning. It is September 17. I am staying at Pearrygin State Park, and there is a 6.5-mile loop trail around Pearrygin Lake. So I will be taking you guys on this hike. Well, these are pretty. They're about done. Very pretty. So unfortunately, it involves a bit of a road walk to begin with, or at least where I'm starting from. There's multiple trailheads, of course, but the one I'm starting on is on the road. So I won't really show you anything unless I see something of interest on the road. Wow, beautiful elderberries. I'm sure we'll be seeing lots of it, but there's the lake, your first glimpse. Okay, now I'm off that highway. It didn't last too long, thankfully. And this is called the Rexder Trail. It must be shoulder season or something for the camping because it's only $25 a night, which is much better than 30 something. Well, after being at Sinai for over a year, it was time for the Israelites to move on to the Promised Land. The cloud began to move and the trumpets sounded. Remember that God himself always directed the Israelites in all their travels. He was in the cloud, and when they stayed put, the cloud rested on the tabernacle. A distance of only 11 days lay between Sinai and Kadesh on the borders of Canaan. The route was pretty difficult as it was a rocky wilderness, and the multitude lasted only 3 days until they started complaining. It started with the mixed multitude, those people who came from Egypt that were not Israelites. Dissatisfaction is contagious, and it spread throughout the encampment. They wanted flesh to eat. Though abundantly supplied with manna, they were not satisfied. Well, this displeased God, of course. His anger was aroused, and Moses was burnt out. He said, I am not able to bear all these people alone because the burden is just too heavy for me. There's a nice view of the campground. Pretty nice. This is a Sunday, and the ranger said that 63 people are leaving and only 20 are booked to come in. So that's great for me. Anyway, the people stood in the doorways of their tents, weeping and lamenting. So God had Moses get 70 elders to help bear the burden of the people with Moses. But as it turned out at a later date, this would eventually bite Moses in the butt, so to speak. Yeah, Moses was burnt out, I guess, because he did not look to God for strength in this instance. So God told Moses to tell the people, okay, you want flesh? I'll give you flesh. Not for 1 day or 2 days or 5 days or 10 days or 20 days, but for a whole month until it comes out of your nostrils and it becomes loathsome for you. You have to remember that just the men alone were 600,000. So God brought a strong wind to blow and brought quails from the sea. We can pretend that's the sea behind me. Now, large flocks of quail migrate between Africa and Asia. So God diverted millions of them to the Israelite camp. All that day and night and the following day, the people labored in gathering the food miraculously provided. They each gathered at least 10 homers, and 1 homer is equivalent to a donkey load. So they had a lot of quail. What they didn't eat right away, they dried. You know, the day before God sent the quail, he asked the Israelites to consecrate themselves. But apparently they didn't, because the Bible says, while the meat was still between their teeth, Before it was even chewed, the Lord struck the people with a very great plague. Rather than receiving God's gift as a sacred event, the Israelites ate like gluttons. So the Lord brought the promised discipline upon them more quickly than after 1 month. Their rebellious desires were gratified, but they were left to suffer the results. Once again, there's so many rabbit trails off this trail, so I don't know if I'm on the Rex Durr Trail, but anyway, I'm following All Trails map for this loop around the lake, and it leads me through the campground, which makes sense, I guess. So there's 2 sides to this campground, an east and a west. I just walked through the east side, and now I'll take you to the west side. Nice bike path, and there's the check-in station you can see in the distance. So it's a little bit of a walk between the 2 campgrounds. This side is not as big, so it's more peaceful. Well, the healing hiker rating for this Pearrygin Lake Loop Trail is a 2 out of 5. Can't really recommend it. Not the greatest scenery. So I guess the moral of the story is be careful what you ask God for. Whenever I ask Him for something, I always end it with, "But your will be done, Father, not my will." We just have to trust God that He knows what is best for us.